a team that I've got definitely looking into free agency for their quarterback, and whose division this always was, but now I think are going to struggle, is the New England Patriots. I mean, nobody's talking about them as much as they used to, and that's for a reason. My first question is, do you believe in the idea that Jimmy Garoppolo is plan A, or have you got something else?
No, I think Jimmy G or Marcus Mariota end up as their quarterbacks.
Yeah, definitely. It's the fact that Jimmy G's their plan A that astounds me. That, like, imagine your plan A playing on a different team. Like, that's a difficult thing for them to go for. Do you think Jimmy G is a bit of a Belichick ego stroke if they bring Jimmy G back and start winning all of a sudden again?
Yeah, that's Belichick's way of saying, I told you it wasn't Brady.
Yeah, but then Brady won a Super Bowl. Like,
right, but if he wins with Jimmy G, he can look and say, I told you to give me to Brady 3 years ago.
Yeah, then they say, I've also got, like, he says, hey, I've also got this talent as well. I think it is definitely an ego stroke, because I think there's quarterbacks that I'm surprised they're not in the running for, and they're so in the running for Jimmy G.
And is it not the most Patriot thing to do to bring in Trent Brown, make him good, let him go, let him get paid, and then bring him back a year later, right? So I know even with the $11 million they spent on him, they still have $55 million. And I really believe they're going to get a long-term deal done with him, because they gave him a no tag and no trade on that deal. So I think they'll get a long-term deal done, which will free up more room. Plus they have all those guys coming back from COVID, that I think the Patriots are going to be a lot better than people think. I do think there's some free agents they need to worry about, like McCourty and stuff, but I think it's Jason. Both McCourty brothers, the twin play there, but I think it's Jason they have to re-sign. And then I think with Hightower, you get him back. Maybe you bring in Hunter Henry.
Yeah, I think they've got to go to free agency to make all of their signings as well. So they've got to worry about their own free agents, and they've got to go to free agency. So Hunter Henry, great call for them. And I love the idea of Hunter Henry as a Patriot. I also think they like their banged up receivers. So a guy like Will Fuller will be there. AJ Green.
I think that if he's still sitting there when they draft, and I'll do it this time, Jeremiah Osho-Koroma from Notre Dame, I think he's a good pick for them too. I also think cornerback Patrick Surtain from Alabama could be a good draft pick for them if he's still there.
Yeah.
I think that they're also a team that they need a lot, but this is going to sound stupid as fuck, but they need a lot, but they're not that far from being back in contention.
Yeah, I think they kind of need a lot, but it doesn't take a lot to fix. Like,
it sounds stupid as hell, but
like, because we know how they're set up, we know their coaching structure is brilliant, so they only really need to plug those holes. It's not like the Jets, you need to knock out of the park on every pick because they're a front office deficiency. Like, they need to just have absolute ballers in every place, but because of their coaching structure, then they're able to kind of work with that.
How many people fucking held out last year? I don't even remember. 5, 6, 7.
Yeah, and like it's not like shit players that hung out as well, held out. It's like good players, man.
I almost wonder if those players held out because they're like, well, a year without Brady, let my body heal.
Yeah, it's like we'll chill out. I'm surprised they didn't try and tank even further to try and get in the QB conversation. But the 15th pick, I think they are in the QB conversation still. If they pick
depending
Jimmy G
on
in
who
free
you
agency.
Like, if you like Trey Lance, he's probably there. If
Kellen
you like,
Mond.
yes. Now why did I go blank? Alabama. Mac
Jones.
I don't know why I went blank for a second. I've been shitting.
Yeah, I think that's I think that's kind of a trade up for. Mel Kiper's got them trading up to take Trey Lance, but there's no way that Trey Lance is getting picked before 15th. I can't see a team that would pick him.
I like Trey Lance. I'm a big Trey Lance fan, right? Kelvin Mond, like him. I don't understand why they actually think, these prognosticators think that people are going to sell their teams for unknown guys when Trey Lance could end up being the worst pick of your franchise, or he could end up being the best pick of your, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
You just don't know. And I don't believe that teams are going to trade up and waste more picks because they watched what happened with the Bears and Trubisky. Like, you're not going to do it.
Yeah, I can't see a team that would pick Trey Lance that's ahead of them. So if you've got Jacksonville taking Trevor Lawrence, I just forgot the name of the guy.
Yeah, right.
What just happened there? Yeah, so Trevor Lawrence, and then the Jets take Zach Wilson. Atlanta take one of the other quarterbacks, so that's Fields, Mac Jones, Trey Lance,
maybe Atlanta trades for Darnold. Like, this is the thing.
Yeah,
like,
maybe Atlanta's the one who trades for Darnold.
Happen.
Yeah, and then the only other team that's really certain that they're going to take a quarterback. We don't know that. We don't know whether Detroit are going to. We don't know whether the Eagles are going to, because they're the kind of teams that we think they have their quarterback, but we don't know that they have.
Well, Detroit said they're looking.
Yeah, but that kind of means that there's still going to be one that does fall down to the New England Patriots. So that's going to be someone like Mac Jones, Kellen Mond, Trey Lance. And if you sit them behind Jimmy Garoppolo for 2-3 years, then that's a really good spot for Trey Lance. I think if Trey Lance makes it there, then that's a really good spot for them. But you don't want to sell your team for a guy who's going to sit for 2 or 3 years, really, D.
Well, Belichick would.
Yeah, well, we all know Belichick.
I mean, Stidham, Jimmy Garoppolo, like, you know what I mean? He'll spend a second round on these guys. So he's not above sitting a guy if he thinks it's going to better him in the future. And like,
yeah, but I don't think he'd trade up for them.
No, I don't think Belichick would trade up for a quarterback anyway, but that's just me.
Yeah.
I don't think he would do it. I think Belichick believes he's such a great coach. Sometimes coaches do this, that we can fix him, or we can make him something he wasn't. But I think with everybody coming back, they almost look like a new team anyway. So I think they're in a better spot than people give them credit for.
Yeah, definitely.
They have a ton of cap room, and Belichick is the best bargain shopper in the NFL.
Yeah, and they're gonna. We talked about the draft a little bit, but I don't think that's where they're going to improve their team too much, because that's not. They're good at drafting defensive guys. They're terrible at drafting weapons on the offense.
Yeah, stay away from wide receivers.
So unless somebody falls that everybody knows is going to be great, then don't trust your own team to analyze wide receivers. Look at people who have already made it, so that you're all right.
I literally almost spit cappuccino across the room when you said that, but I agree with you.
Yeah, just like, don't trust your own team to look at wide receivers. I know that's stupid coming from a guy sitting in a room in Darlington in the UK saying, all these guys that you pay all that money to, those scouts, like, they're clearly not to be trusted. So take a wide receiver in free agency, Will Fuller, AJ Green, those kind of guys. They fit the New England kind of mold, where it's like, hey, you've fallen off your career, come here, we'll fix you up again. Or tight end Hunter Henry, those kind of guys. They're the people that they need to go after. Kyle Pitts falls to them in the 15th pick. Take Kyle Pitts,
Also, it's like, okay, so Belichick is an amazing coach, right?
Yeah.
He's amazing with the cap. He is not the greatest personnel guy when it comes to drafting.
Yeah, definitely.
Also, I think he trades out the first round a lot because he's not that good at it. And there is some theory, like, I live by the theory, the more lottery tickets you have, the more chance you have of winning.
Yeah.
So the more draft picks you have, right? Like, the more chance you have of hitting. So maybe he trades back too. If he's got Derek Carr or Mariota and he's not sold on Trey Lance or Mac Jones, he's not going to take them. So maybe he trades back and picks up more picks in the most Patriot thing to do ever.
And just go get loads of second round picks. That could be call up Chicago again. That kind of thing. Call up the Washington football team. Those guys that need one and are a bit too low to be certain that someone's going to fall to them. Then that's the kind of thing to do. I think New England, they're going to be back. Just the only issue with New England is, and the reason I think everybody's kind of sleeping on them, is their issues, their needs are things that they're not good at drafting, are things that they're not good at assessing and fixing. So wide receiver, like weapons. Then they're clearly not good at that kind of thing. So that's why I think a few people are worried on them. But their defense will be solid. They're in the game to get a quarterback because they're looking for quarterbacks that nobody else is looking for, So they're in the room to fix their quarterback problem. And also, if they keep Cam Newton, put some weapons around him, I do think Cam Newton is one of the top 32 plays in the 32 quarterbacks in the NFL. So I think he can definitely do a job if everything falls through the floor and you don't get a replacement quarterback for him as well. The New England Patriots will be back next season.
Well, I'll tell you what I think of Cam Newton. I take Mitch Trubisky before I take Cam Newton, and you know what I think about Mitch Trubisky. Also, I think a big thing is what happens if Indianapolis is sitting there and they think one of these quarterbacks are the quarterback of the future. Do they maybe call up New England and say, I want to trade out of here? There's a lot of teams that could make some moves, but I think we're both sold on the fact with a lot of cap space, with some idea where they want to go at quarterback, and the fact that they got a bunch of people coming back from COVID. I think we both think New England's going to be all right.
Yeah, I definitely agree with you, man. I think that's kind of like the idea, isn't it? They're definitely going to be better than last season. They're definitely going to be more in it than they were last season, but I still think it's the Bills AFC East to lose.
Oh, I definitely agree. I think the Bills are a team that's here for a long time. I think it's exciting to watch where the Dolphins are going to go. And the crazy shit show that's the New York Jets is always entertaining to watch, even if it's a dumpster fire.
Yeah. I kind of want it to be, I kind of want them to do really well, but it being a dumpster fire would also be really fun to see.
Yeah, and they would be a lovable story like the Bills, like the Browns if they got it together, right?
Yeah, the Bills as well, actually,
correct.
If they got it together, yeah.
I just think that it would be really exciting for their fan base. I hate to say alternative New York sports fans, but if you're a Jets fan, if you're a Mets fan, now if you're a Knicks fan, like it's rough, man. It's rough in New York for them right now. If you're not a Giants fan, even though that's rough too, you know what I mean? You're a Brooklyn Nets fan right now.
It's only not rough for the Giants because they're in the NFC East. Yeah,
and they're the Giants.
Yeah, and they're the Giants. Yeah.
Like the Yankees, the Giants, and now the Brooklyn Nets are like, if you cheer for the other three teams, you're like poor New York, right? It's like you're living in Detroit. It's so...
Yeah.
I just think it's going to be really exciting for the AFC East, and I don't...
That division's fun, man.
I never pay a ton of attention to the AFC East because New England's owned it for 20 years.
You've never had to. Unless New England were playing Miami in Miami, you've never needed to focus on a game in the AFC East. That's until the last season when Buffalo were tearing it up and you're like, oh, what's this Buffalo team doing? Do they have enough to beat Kansas City? But now it's kind of like all the teams have their own little storylines. Like, are Miami going to make the playoffs? Are the Bills going to go for the first seed in the AFC? Like that's where their target is for the regular season. Are the Jets going to be better than the tire fire that they've been recently? And will the New England Patriots be back? And with what quarterback will that be with?
What quarterback will three of those teams be with?
Yeah, all three. All three.
You used to say that, but it was always New England who was stable, right? Now it's the Bills.
Yeah.
The Bills. Josh Allen is freaking balling. Like he's better than I gave him credit for coming out of college.
Yeah.
So I said he was the second best quarterback in that draft. I still believe that, but as of right now, he's the best. I still believe Baker may end up being better, but maybe not. I could be wrong, right? Like that was me going into the draft too. So I'm still sticking but Josh Allen has blown me away on his progression year after year. So I don't know. Bills division, Jets are probably still in the basement, but they could make some moves. Good coach, a lot of room for improvement, but they got a lot of tools to get the pieces they need. Then New England look like a dumpster fire, but they're probably not as bad as everybody thinks because everybody coming back. And then you go to Miami. And Miami's a good team, but who's going to be the quarterback? Are they going to have draft picks? Are they going to have Watson? It's an exciting little division for the first time in a long time.
Very exciting to see. The Jets kind of won the season like the Dolphins when they first got Brian Flores, where they're going to lose, but it's about building the culture, and then the next season kind of go from there. You don't want to win out too much and ruin your draft picks for the next year too, when you've still got so many holes to fill, you know?
Correct.
So, yeah,
I think you were absolutely nailed it when you said the Dolphins are the only team that don't hurt themselves by trading for Deshaun Watson.
By trading for Deshaun Watson.
I think you nailed that. Like, no doubt in my mind, because they're in a good spot. They got a lot of picks. They're going to give the Texans back their own picks. And, but yeah.
Good business.
So, Maddie, just to give everybody a preview, where do you want to head next with the NFC or the AFC?
AFC South. Straight into the AFC South. Yeah.
There will be a lot to talk about there. I'm pretty sure we covered most everything, unless there's something else you need to say on the NFC East. Or AFC,
the NFC East I've got a lot to say on, but the AFC East, no, I think we've covered it. I think that's a very in-depth chat about the AFC East there.
Well, guys, everybody, thanks for checking us out. You can follow the Yankee and the Brit on Twitter. And if you do, I guarantee you, if you're a UFC fan, I got a lot of stuff for you while I'm tweeting during the UFCs. Also, if you're watching on YouTube, please subscribe, hit that notification button on Facebook, follow. Other platforms will be coming: Apple, Google Podcast, Spotify. Check us out on there if you don't want to look at us. Also, tell a friend to tell a friend. One world, one love. Deuces.
Cheerio.